Until it was a drama on ITV just after Christmas, nobody seemed to be bothered about the post office scandal and the Horizon crisis. And suddenly Rishi Sunak is involved and getting the dates wrong, saying it's something that to do with the 1990s. Actually, it didn't really start until the end of the 1990s. And the Conservative Party has been in power since 2010 and so has been at the forefront of the system dealing with the fallout from this abuse of justice. And certainly from 2015, they would have had reports. Many MPs would have been contacted by their constituents. This situation has been groaning on during the course of the Conservative tenure of power. And so it seems extraordinary that it's only now, having watched the telly, that Rishi Sunak gets concerned about this issue and says, rightly, that there should be an act in Parliament to immediately exonerate all the sub-postmasters, sub-postmistresses around the country who were caught up in this scandal and this extraordinary abuse of power, because it's about control. And if a little bit more control can put things partly right, then that's how we should go. But, this isn't the only scandal which has emerged during the tenure of this government. The whole spread from the beginning of the government with Cameron and Clegg through to the present time of Rishi Sunak, from the coalition to I was going to say from the coalition to the pure conservatism, but it's not really. What we now have is a de facto coalition with Reform, the Uber UKIP party, and we are in some ways being governed by people from the ERG. But over all that, the umbrella of conservatism has been flapping. So for Priti Patel to claim that this is a problem that is firmly in the responsibility of the Labour Party and the Liberal Democrats is disingenuous, as she did in The Sun. It's disingenuous. It was the coalition government under which this emerged, and it was the Labour government that set it up. So every part of the political structure of Parliament, with the exception of the SNP, is seriously under focus and needs to respond quickly. And it's great that a television drama should draw attention to abuse. That's what television drama is supposed to do. I would like to see a television drama now about the serious abuse of reality TV. I was watching a thing with Jeremy Kyle on Talk TV this morning. He was popping up almost every hour. It's like some sort of malicious version of Punch and Judy. And I think back to the 2019 investigation into reality TV and how that was suddenly truncated by Boris Johnson calling an election in the autumn, and no further depositions, no further evidence was taken. So the only evidence which was given to that committee was evidence from producers. 4 participants, 4 cast members testified, and they were handpicked, so they didn't do too much damage to the production aims, and production got exactly what it wanted. More control over the lives of the individuals who are involved in reality TV. And I know because I was involved in it myself. I also know, and I was in the supermarket the other day, and one of the people in the supermarket asked me how could he get involved in Big Brother and various other shows. And I said, well, it's very difficult because the idea that you apply is nonsensical. This is a fantasy. You are headhunted. And maybe they collect lists from people who apply, but which is why somebody applies for one show and they suddenly find themselves being invited to be on an entirely different show. And there are some shows like Naked Attraction which are desperate for applicants, and they would take almost anybody who puts their name forward. What an extraordinary show that is. But there has to be a better way of running it, and I think maybe that if there were a proper dramatization of the sheer misery that is created by the aftermath of these programs, is not about whether or not somebody can deal with fame or the loss of fame. It's about the experience of being pressured. It's about the experience of losing agency, particularly on these longer programs where you are imprisoned in an environment. Whether you agree to it or not, you have very little choice, because the whole system happens so fast. And the relationships you strike up, the relationships I struck up were with the runners and the production crew, and yet the country assumes my great relationships were with the people who they saw on the show together with me, who I never met until after the show had finished. And television is an extraordinary beast. But if television can command such a response, then maybe this is the way many injustices should be resolved. It is not about putting forward the case in a legal setting. It's about commanding an emotional response from the public. And in the case of reality TV, I know from my research and from what people have told me and from talking to people in the States who have devised this amazing body called UCAN, that there are upwards of 50, probably 60 people who have killed themselves because of reality TV. Now that's 60 people too many, isn't it? And I don't understand how an industry can be built on such death, such misery, how an industry can have its hands steeped in so much blood and can continue, except that it's cheap. It's cheap. And I'm afraid the same sort of thing must be said about the post office scandal, must be said about Windrush, must be said about all these situations where people are left stranded. Why are they left stranded? Because it's cheap. Because the law costs too much. Because the only people who profit from the law are the lawyers. And I'm afraid Dickens had established that 150 years ago. More, 200 years ago. Dickens established that. The only people who are making money are the lawyers. And that's one of the principles that, again, we learnt from the Horizon story.